Welcome back to the program. Today's classic interview is with conservative pundit SE Cupp. But the interesting thing is that this interview is back from 2010. At the time, SE Cupp was not nearly as well known as she is now. And we had certainly what I would consider a lively and interesting conversation. At the time, she had written a book. She was an atheist and so on and so forth. Very interesting interview with SE Cupp 4 years ago, and we will take a look at that interview now and then talk about the follow-up after.
Midweek Politics with Dave Pakman on midweekpolitics.com.
Hey, welcome back to Midweek Politics. I'm David Pakman. SE Cupp is the author of the book Losing Our Religion, The Liberal Media's Attack on Christianity, foreword by Mike Huckabee. SE, how did you get Mike to write the foreword for you?
You know, it wasn't that hard. I mean, I see him around Fox a lot, and he's a very generous guy. And I think that, you know, even though we're not on the same page spiritually, I think he appreciates someone defending Christianity against attacks from the liberal media. Which
somebody has to do it.
I mean, he's now part of the media, so I think it's in his interest to take part, and he was kind enough to do that.
You mentioned in the book and in a lot of the interviews you've done about the book that you're an atheist, and that my impression is that you say because you're an atheist, it makes you a particularly good person to comment about whether the media is liberal, whether it's against Christianity. I mean, why does that make you a better analyst of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that it makes me a better analyst, but I hope it gives me a little, credibility, because I can be wholly objective here. I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm not defending Christianity as a Christian.
Oh, well, come on. Hold on a second. You may not have a religion in the fight, but you are a regular contributor to Fox News, and Fox News has made it clear. I mean, the war on Christmas a couple of years ago, come on, they have a dog in the fight, and coincidentally, you seem to be on the same page, right?
I am, and it's not coincidental. I mean, as a conservative, I'm particularly I would say, tuned in to the liberal attacks, but and they just so happen to focus on Christians some of the time. But for me, this wasn't about agitating or exciting a particular religious or political group. It was a media criticism project. I'm part of the media, and I look at this stuff and write about this stuff all the time. So, I call out Fox News sometimes. I mean, not every media outlet is bad at covering religion. Some are worse than others, but no one out there is doing it with the kind of sort of muscular objectivity that I think we need.
So you believe that the liberal media is attacking Christianity? They are out. What is the goal? They don't like Christianity. They want Christianity to end. I mean, what's the end game here?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think, one, this is political. I think the liberal media thinks, and rightly so, that if they can paint Christians as crazy and dangerous, then they can also paint conservatives as crazy and dangerous. And they do that very well. And
so, but hold on a second.
Isn't it successful for them?
It seems it's easy enough to paint conservatives as dangerous if that's what the media outlet wants to do without throwing Christianity into it, isn't it?
They can do that, but, Christianity is 80% of the country. That's a much bigger block to target than, say, conservatism, which hovers, around the halfway point all the time. So I think it's a much more attractive target, and they can include more people. But I also think that this is somewhat ideological. I think liberalism is very uncomfortable with fixed value systems like Christianity. And I think that pushing fixed value systems like Christianity to the fringes, if they can, is something that is a very interesting project for them.
So name the media outlets that are not attacking Christianity as their regular playbook.
Oh, that's hard. I mean, I can't say that anyone does that well. I mean, there are even quote-unquote religious outlets, Christian outlets, that I don't think cover religion very well.
Okay, no, but hold on a second. No, we can. I understand. Is MSNBC a anti-Christian news outlet?
I'm not going to paint the entire outlet, but their coverage of Christianity is not good. It's not responsible. It's not respectful. And I don't think it's objective.
And so tell me, this is good.
Pretty bad offender.
Now we're getting into the meat of it. What specifically, I don't know, in the last 6 months has MSNBC done that is an attack on Christianity?
Well, I can't speak about specifically the last 6 months. I mean, I follow this all the time, and I'm not sure when things happen and when, but it's really all the time. I mean, Keith Olbermann regularly uses his spot to paint the pro-life as he calls them, religious jihadists. That's, I mean, it's an opinion show. I get that, but that's still incredibly irresponsible. That's still incredibly disrespectful to call, a majority. I mean, a majority of the country, it's somewhere around 52% right now, are pro-life, consider themselves pro-life. To call a majority of the country religious jihadists, I think is a very irresponsible use of his platform.
Is this specifically anti-Christian, or is it anti-all religions?
No, I mean, the liberal media is very uncomfortable with religion writ large. You're absolutely right. But they target Christianity with much more alacrity. And in fact treat Islam these days with kid gloves. They do not afford Christianity the same kind of deference and, thoughtful care as they do Islam and other religions.
Now, so let's move past the religion thing a little bit. When we talk about the so-called liberal media, when you think about the amount of coverage that the Tea Party got, not negative coverage, positive coverage, do you think that the media overall is really liberal? I mean, wouldn't the Tea Party movement have been swept under the rug if that were the case?
Oh, I don't know what media you're reading, but I did not see a lot of positive Tea Party coverage coming out of the liberal media. And in fact, sweeping it under the rug has become a constant job of the liberal media. I mean, just this past week, I was reading story after story about some liberal pundit or editor or writer saying the Tea Party movement has come and gone. It's going to fade away.
Wait a second. Hold on a second.
This was happening since the advent of the Tea Party movement. It was being dismissed routinely by the liberal media, if not outright attacked as fringy and dangerous and racist and all of those other things.
Hold on a second. You know what? There was commentary to that effect, and we could go through all of the evidence that suggests some of those analyses were actually were warranted and were based in fact. But you're telling me that there was not enough coverage of the Tea Party to suggest that it was not being swept under the rug? I mean, we had months of claiming that there were millions of people at Tea Party protests that had thousands of people, or maybe tens of thousands. That's liberal media, SE?
Well, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. I did not read those at all. I know Fox was covering the Tea Party movement. I won't say honestly. I know that they were very excited about the Tea Party movement. But they were covering it, and as were the conservative outlets. The liberal outlets were completely dishonest and continue to be completely irresponsible on their coverage of the Tea Parties. In their defense, it's not an easy thing to cover. It's very hard to find objective truth in a phenomenon like this, but they're not doing a good job.
How do we live in the same universe where you believe that only conservative media was covering the Tea Party, and I couldn't turn on local news, regional news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, the Hannity show, as well as the liberal radio shows? I could not get away from news about the Tea Party. How do you and I live in the same universe?
With you. I didn't say they weren't covering it. I said they weren't covering it objectively. Of course they were covering it. It was in their interest to cover it, but the way that they were covering it was, I thought, despicable, and I continue to think that.
So is part of your argument about what is and isn't covered in addition to how it's covered?
Oh, absolutely. And the book, and in Losing Our Religion, I'm not just talking about the way things are covered. I'm talking about what isn't covered, what stories aren't getting reported. I mean, it's not easy to do this kind of sweeping media analysis of a big issue like Christianity in American culture, without being nuanced about it. So I work really hard not to paint with broad strokes and not just, to just look at the hot button topics like abortion and gay marriage and evolution, but to look at the way that, say, conservative culture is reported on, conservative movies, conservative books, Christian products.
But isn't it possible that some stories are interesting and some are not. I mean, Christian product. Do you want CNN to do a story about about Christian products? I mean, to some extent, it's just what's interesting,
CNN
right?
did do a story on Christian products.
There you go.
It's not that I want them to.
I must have missed it.
It's the way that they do it. It's the way that they cover Christian movies. It's the way that they cover Christian books like The Purpose-Driven Life or like C.S. Lewis. I mean, I'm not asking for them to cover them. I am telling you that they are covering them, and badly.
You know, I feel like we must be, and it's funny, you're from Massachusetts, we're in Massachusetts, we literally must just be living in two different universes, because I'm just not seeing so many of the things that the book describes. I did read the book, which is Losing Our Religion by SE Cupp, and I enjoyed it as kind of a, let's see what is going to make it into this book, but I feel like we must just be living on different planets.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I think, no, really. I mean, I meet tons of reporters, tons of pundits, and, even within my, conservative media circle, we see things differently. I mean,
we certainly do.
I think politically and culturally, we're an incredibly ideologically diverse group of people, so that we are not looking at this issue the same way doesn't surprise me at all. I'm just hoping to point out some areas that I think are not being discussed. And if you've read the book, then whether you agree with my thesis or not, there is some evidence in there that is just irrefutable. And
well, I think what there is, I don't know if I'd irrefutable or cherry picked to create a certain narrative. We'll have to leave that discussion for the next time, but I do appreciate you calling in, SE.
My pleasure. The
book is Losing Our Religion, the Liberal Media's Attack on Christianity. Hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care. Bye. After this interview, a whole bunch of people that had never heard of SE Cupp, again, at the time, she was not nearly as well known as she is now, emailed me and said, you know what? She's just the exact right type of outrageously right-wing that she's probably going to become really, really popular. And some of those people were, of course, right. She did her rounds on a couple of different network shows and now has become a far more prominent right-wing conservative figure. I would actually be interested in interviewing her again, because I think she's had to change her views after becoming much more of a public figure on some issues. And I think we're going to try to have her back on hopefully sooner than later.